Hello everyone and welcome to another Scrapbook Layout Share video. Today is very exciting. It's the first day of spring here for me, and it also means that there are two brand new catalogues that have been launched today. So if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you will be able to click on my link below to my website, click on the more, and you'll see an option to check out the two new catalogues. So if you do that, you'll be able to look at all the goodies that are contained in these two brand new catalogues. What I'm going to share with you today though are some layouts that I've made from one of the collections that is in our brand new September-October catalogue. You can see here we've got a new Essentials catalogue that will be running from September through to August. I'm not going to do a flip through of everything that is in here. What I do want to point out though is the gorgeous Operation Smile stamp set that you can add to your cart, and when you purchase this set, $7 of the proceeds will be donated through to Operation Smile, and that's $7 US. And I don't often talk about the Operation Smile stamp set, but this is a gorgeous set. I love the rainbow with the stitched elements on here, the big font with smile on there, happy, which you can add to a birthday sentiment, so you can look in your stash of stamps and put birthday underneath there, the stitched elements on this sun here and also on the heart. But all of these sentiments here are gorgeous, but for me it's about the rainbow and it's about what this raises money for. My brother actually had a hair, lip and cleft palate when he was born, so he was fortunate enough to be able to have surgery way back then to fix that issue. But for children around the world, not all of them have that opportunity. So this raises money for these operations to take place, and it's life-changing for them. So I encourage you to look at this stamp set and consider adding this to your cart. Now, as I said, I'm not going to flip through everything in here. You can see there is a special. One thing I will point out, the first of every month, this QR code will take you to what the special is for that month or any time during that month. This was the August special with the gnomes for autumn. It is still currently available to order, but there will be a new special each month, and when you scan that, that will bring up what that special is for the month. So that's a bit of a cool feature. You can see it's got all the standard things in here: adhesive, tools, memory protectors, our blocks, our ink pads, digital art, glitter paper. There's some great new acrylics and die cuts. The dots are in here, some new coloring pencils which I showed on a video recently. There's our shimmer brushes. New paper colors have been added this year, which is wonderful. The color of the year is Journey, and I just love this color. It is a gorgeous blue. It's lovely to work with, and there are a few other elements in here: a new Make It From Your Heart book and some starter kits as well. So make sure that you check this out online. And this September-October catalogue is what I am focusing on for this layout share. If you're new to my channel and you haven't watched a scrapbook layout share, usually I write a scrapbooking guide to go with it. So what I've done for this one, here's that Operation Smile stamp set again. It's in both the catalogues. I love this collection, the papers, the embellishments. You can see a gorgeous layout here and the cards. It's all fabulous. I love the papers in this, and you're going to see those closer as I flip through. I think this windmill type paper with the graphic design and the ledger paper on there and all the journal sort of notations on there, it really is a gorgeous paper. So I have made that a feature for two of my double page spreads. I have 8 scrapbook layouts and 6 cards to share with you today. So these are the 3 pattern papers that I am featuring throughout this section today, but I will be playing with more of this paper packet. I've used the sticker sheet as well, and I've also used the die cuts here. These are a wood type look die cut, and they're very easy to push out and adhere to the page. So they're the 3 items that I've used. You can buy the paper pack with the stickers, and then the additional element are these die cuts, and I have used some card stock as well. I just want to flip through quickly the stamp sets. So this is a gorgeous stamp set and creates a beautiful scene. I have purchased this one here. I could not resist it. It comes with a lot of die cuts. You can see the shading here. That lets you know that there is a thin cut or a die cut, a metal die, that will cut out these shapes, even right down to this little love this tab as well. So I will be working with that in future videos. There is a scrapbooking workshop kit. So if you want to have most of the design done for you, you can follow the guide and you get exclusive papers with this as well. There's a gorgeous wash here and there's an icon paper as well. And you do get the paper packet with the sticker sheet, some of the wooden elements, and also some coordinating cardstock. So everything that you need to put these 3 double page spreads together. And there's also a card making workshop. And with the cards that I've designed that will go with my scrapbook workshop guide, I've used sentiments from this set, but you can use any sentiments you like. I just had this on hand and I really liked the hey there and the happy birthday. So I've featured those, but you don't have to have that stamp set to complete the projects that I've prepared. So let's get in and have a look at what I've designed here. I really wanted this paper to be a feature. I couldn't bear to cover too much of it up. So you can see I've got quite large strips of it here. This is basically the whole sheet here. I have just separated it out and put some on the left and some on the right. And I have used Harbour cardstock as a base to go here, just a strip of that here. And I've also used mist cardstock, which works really well with this pattern paper. You can see that I've also done some stenciling. Now that's an optional extra. If you wanted to purchase this scrapbooking guide, I will have a link for that below. But if you didn't want to do the stenciling and the splattering, you don't have to. You can easily leave this section out and it really will still be a gorgeous layout. The stencil that I've used is from this new Essentials catalogue, and I'll just flip through and find that for you. So you can see here there are quite a few stencils. These are 12 by 12 stencils. The first set are layering stencils, so you can rotate them and build up a pattern. This background piece was done with this stencil here. So ink up the flowers, then you can ink up the center of the flowers, the leaves, and these other small elements just by rotating it, and you get this gorgeous look here. But I've used this stencil here from stencil pack number 2, and I'll show you what I've used throughout this when I flip through my pages that I've created. So there are 2 different 12 by 12 packs, but there's also a stencil bundle as well. So of course I have bought the whole entire page because when it comes to stencils, I really love them and I have to have them all. This animal print one is absolutely gorgeous, and these floral elements and leaf elements, they also layer as well. You don't rotate them this one to build up a whole 12 by 12 spread that you could then cut out into card fronts quite easily, but this one here you can see that these layer up. So there's 3 images here that layer, these 3 floral elements. This is a tulip type flower here. You've got leaves and you've got the little veins as well. So if you get these sets, I just suggest getting out some cardstock, inking up your blending brushes, and just having a play with it so that you can see what you can create. There'll be a lot of uses for all of these stencils. I'll just briefly mention there are A2 card or standard size card stencils. This one here is a bit cute. It's a heart. So you ink up one side and then you flip it over and you can ink up the other side of the heart. So you get 2-toned hearts, which is a really cool effect. This one here layers as well. So there's the main part of the florals and then there's the centers. And then there are slimline cards as well. So these 3 here will layer up. You can use 2 or all 3 of them. You can mix up which ones you want to use. You could use these 2 together, or you can use all 3 together as well. Whereas these are more like single-use stencils that create gorgeous backgrounds for your projects. And of course, with card front stencils, you can use them on your 12 by 12, 11 by 8, 6 by 8, whatever scrapbooking size you want to do, you can use these stencils on there as well. And they really have quite a low price point, which is fabulous because they're not single-use as well. You'll get a lot of use out of these. So I've put this just with some black paper behind it so you can see, and I'm going to give a demonstration at the end of this video on how I've used it on my pages. I've used the brick, the ruler, I've used this word art here. This is like a clock face, but I haven't actually used the little dials at all. So you'll see that as I flip through. So let's get back to the actual projects. So this is layout 1. You can see I've got some ink blending going on here with the stencil. I'm hoping this will pick up. It's very, very light, but there's the ruler section. I've got that on both sides, and that's the bricks as well. And I've blended it so that it fades out as it goes into the page. And then I've done some splatters as as well. So this is linen ink that I've done the stenciling, and this is mist ink that I've done the splatters. The stickers are absolutely gorgeous. I haven't actually put any of the wood die cuts onto here because I wanted to keep this lovely soft feel. And I love this sticker here that becomes a journaling spot. And of course, there's the little word strips as well that work really, really well when you layer them up together. So let's move on to layout 2. Here's the stripe paper as a background. It really does look like corrugated iron, which you would find out in the Australian countryside quite easily. And this is the wood grain paper, but I've inked that as well. I've stenciled that word art on here, but then I've inked around the edge with a blending brush just to bring a little bit more depth in to that piece and make it look like it all belongs. You can see the ruler stenciling happening here. And this is the clock stencil. So you can see I've gone 1, 2, 3 elements of it going around in this section to bring your eye in and create a bit of a focal point where the photos are, and then layered up some stickers and some of those wood grain elements. I've repeated that stenciling and splattering at the top here and then continued that on to the right page. You can see that when I've done the stenciling, even though it's not quite 12 inches, that ruler piece, you can move the stencil along so that you can get the image to go all the way across when you're doing your stenciling. And this is a zip strip from the pack. It's gorgeous, these trucks on here, and they're a rustic look. They're not a solid design, so it gives you light and shade within the zip strip as well. So I'll move on to layout 3. Oh, but before I do, I wanted to show you there's a little bit of practice that goes on with what colors I'm going to choose. So you can see here I selected linen with mist splatters in the end, but I was doing a lot of auditioning for this. I tried charcoal, I tried mist, I tried Harbour, but then with the linen I decided that I wanted that soft look up against these pattern papers. So back to this page, this is Harbour ink that I've used on here. Now, when you look at Harbour, it is the deepest blue that we have. It's an absolutely gorgeous colour, but you can easily achieve this colour tone with a very light hand when you're doing your ink blending and watering down your ink splatters a bit so that it gives a softer look to this. So I love how versatile using ink pads is for something like this. You can get so many different looks depending on how much you load your brush up and how heavily you apply it. Here's that gorgeous graphic style windmill paper again. You can't actually see the windmills so much on this. I wanted to just have the texture. There's a wood grain texture through this and a little bit of this ledger writing as well, rather than the focus being on the windmills because I've got that in layout 1. These stickers are absolutely gorgeous and they have beveled edges as well, which is a gorgeous little feature on there. And doing a cluster of these elements just brings everything together rather than them floating around the page. And this is going to be good for farmers market type photos or a day out at a winery where they use a lot of produce from their own estate that goes on the table at the cafes and the restaurants. So I'm looking forward to putting photos onto this layout. And my journaling is going to go here. I'm just going to journal straight over the top of this stenciled element. I can add more photos to this with flip flaps, or I can add another photo as well here if I wanted to, but I wanted this to be a fairly clean layout. I do love a clean style with plenty of space to breathe. I know that I can add in flip flaps to add in more photos, but this paper is just so gorgeous. I couldn't bear to cover it up too much. Now, most of my pages are built on French vanilla for this. It just works really well with the soft tones of this color palette. Layout 4 has the wood grain as the main feature. This has been built directly onto the wood grain paper. This is the other side, the Harbour gingham. I love this gingham, but I haven't used it in this series. If you prefer the gingham, when you're looking at the cutting guides that I create, you can always flip the papers over and put your own style on this if this paper is what you would prefer to use. You can see I've inked the edges of the pattern paper, but I've only inked around the outside of these, not in the center, because this is a 2-page spread and I wanted this not to have the separation of the ink in between the left and the right page, just to make everything flow along that bit better. There's that gorgeous truck zip strip again, top and bottom of this focal photo on this side and then across the bottom of the photo over here just to bring those colors across. These are the wood grain pieces and I've put a piece of French vanilla behind there so that they stand out rather than this being straight on top of pattern paper or on top of the ink blending where I've used the stencil. I love the barn. It's a really good layered element, and of course a wood grain piece in the shape of a windmill. And this is another zip strip that I've used just to continue across the bottom of here as well, and running it across from the edge of this large photo mat to the edge of this one works very well. And I can do journaling over here, or I can use one of these photo holders here. I can cut a piece of French vanilla here to put over top to put my journaling on as well. So that's the 8 layouts or 4 double page spreads. I'm just going to bring in the cards. Now I've kept these relatively simple, and I've used up all the leftover papers that I had. So you can see I can change this out to be Happy Father's Day. Actually, I think I might do that because Father's Day is this Sunday, and I think that will work quite well. I'm just going to lay these out, and I'm also going to show you what I've got left over from all of these projects from the kit. So with the sentiments here, that is from the Good Life card making workshop. As I mentioned before, you can't purchase this stamp set individually. You do have to purchase the card making workshop to get that. But if you really like all the rustic elements with this, I think this is a must have, because I'm looking forward to using this fence die cut here as well. And you can see from the die cut image, actually I'll just open it so you can have a closer look. The die cut actually puts these textured lines on the fence railings and the fence post, which I think is a really good addition. So it's not just flat piece of cardstock, you get texture in there as well. And with the hay there, I've used the 1-inch circle from our Circles Thin Cuts. It fit really well around this sentiment. You can see I've used some of the wood style die cuts on here, and I've also used this large sticker here that's going to be a congratulations card for people that have just bought their first home. These tartan elements here are actually border sticker strips, and I've just cut them down to make some card fronts. These are fairly simple cards, but I think the color palette of these lends itself really well to masculine style cards, and I love the color palette of the Harbour, Mocha, there's some espresso in there as well, French vanilla, and the grey tones that come through. You could use charcoal, mink and linen with all of this. I hope you've enjoyed my flip through of all the projects that I've created. I'm just going to put this to the side and bring in the little bag that I have to show you what's left over. So from the paper pack and the sticker sheet, this is what I have left over. There are a few little elements of stickers here, and these could easily be added to the layouts if that's the theme of the photos that you wanted to put on there. So pretty much all the paper is gone except for these 3 little pieces here. There's the button stickers. I don't know what it is about buttons. I have trouble working with buttons. And this is the die cut sheet. Now, I have a confession to make. All of these circles are actually buttons, and I tried to use them on a card and I ended up taking them all off. I think I'm just a little bit challenged when it comes to using buttons on projects. So now I'm going to clear away my Versamat, and I'm going to bring in some French vanilla, a little piece of French vanilla cardstock, and show you how I did the stenciling and also the splatters. So what I'm going to do first is this ruler element here, and I'm just going to run this down the left side of my page. I'm going to adhere the stencil to my all-purpose mat, and I'm also going to adhere my paper to the all-purpose mat as well, just so it doesn't move around too much. I'll bring in Harbour ink and a blending brush, and I definitely need a scrap piece of paper for this because I'm going to tap off before I start blending. I could probably start blending with the ink that is already on this brush, but I'm just going to ink this up, tap it off. You can see that's quite dark. I've tapped quite a bit off and I'm hardly pressing at all. There is no pressure going down on here, and I can lift this up and have a little bit of a look, and you can see how light that is. Now I'm going to continue with this, but I'm going to flip it over in a moment and I'm going to show you how dark you can get this. So what I'm going to do now is move this along. I'm going to bring this over just a little bit more, and I'm going to start using the brick element. I'll just move my tape so I can adhere it a little bit closer to my stencil. I don't want it to move. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Pick up the ink, brush it off, and then start coming in with an extremely light hand going over top of where I've already done my stenciling with this ruler. And I'm taking quite a lot of ink off. You can do this with any of our dark inks. I've done it with Mocha. So you can see that on the actual scrapbook layouts that I did. And it's very, very light. So let's have a little look at what I've got here. And there's that gorgeous colour with the Harbour ink. Now, if I wanted to, I could also add some of this clock face here as well, just to add a little bit more to this. And because I'm using the same colour ink, I don't have to clean off every time. So I'm going to do all of these layers with Harbour ink. You can experiment and you can bring in other ink colours if you wish. And you can go a little bit heavier handed if you wanted to get a stronger look to this. So I'm going to ink that up and bring in another bit. I actually haven't done this on the scrapbook layout, and now I'm thinking, why didn't I think of doing that? Of course, you can use this as a clock. So see this center point here? That's to ink, and then that helps you line up the clock hands. But I've just used this as a graphic sort of element rather than using it as a clock. So I'm just going to ink this up again and put a little bit more on there. And I'm going to use this piece as a card front. So that's what it looks like with a very light hand. You can see there's some light and shade with this ruler piece. You can't get it totally even all the time, and that's all the fun of stenciling. You want to have light and shade within this. I'm going to turn this over and I'll show you what the difference is between having a light hand and a heavy hand. I just need to secure my cardstock down. So I'm going to ink up my blending brush and I'm going to go straight in. And you can tell already this is going to be a lot darker. And you can keep going and adding more and more colour to this. So if I pull this back, you can see how dark that is. And if that's the look you want, just do it to your own style and play around with it and see what you can create. That's the fun of stenciling. Don't ever think you've gone too far. And if you wanted to, you can flip things over and use the other side. And you saw that I showed that on the scrapbook layouts. I wasn't quite happy with some of the things and how they came out. So I wanted to have a little bit of an experiment, but I haven't wasted that sheet of paper. I just flipped that over and use the other side of it. Now, if I wanted to, I could just leave that as a darker element with the ruler and then a lighter element with the brick. That works really well as well. And then what I do is I just wash these under warm water, just lukewarm water, not hot water, but you will get some staining. You can see here I've used Mocha ink on this one, so there is some staining, but it doesn't affect the stencil at all. And because our inks are water-based dye inks, you can wash this off. I'm going to do the ink splatters on this side because I want to show you how to get a nice light result. So with my all-purpose mat, I'm just going to smoosh a little bit of ink down there. I don't need a whole lot. I'm going to bring in my little spray bottle. You can see I angled it a bit, so I've already got some splatters happening. Now I'm using this brush here. I don't know what size it is, but it's like a medium type round tip brush. And I've got my little jar of water. And then I'm going to blend this out quite a bit. Now, I recommend when you're going to do something like this to have a little bit of a play with it to see if that's the colour you want. If you want it a little bit lighter, just add some more water. And you can see that's quite light there. So I'm just going to move that out of the way, bring this in and just tap off. Now, the bigger the brush, the bigger the dots you're going to get. If you want smaller dots, use a finer brush. But it's that quick. And I've got a gorgeous look to this that I can use as a card base. It doesn't take much ink to do this, so what I would recommend, probably do it off to the side a bit more rather than the middle, because when you bring in your scrapbook layout, you want to be able to put that on here and do your splattering. I do love how this looks and how it looks on the scrapbook layouts. So that's all I've got to show for you for this week's video with the Good Life. As I said before, I'll have a link below to the workshop guide that you can click on, and I will have all the products that I've used today listed below as well. And I'm just going to give you a little sneaky peek. If you haven't checked it out already, this is the new Christmas collection. It's called Home for Christmas, and I've got this paper sitting there waiting for me to use as well. I was going to do an unboxing, but I decided it might be a bit embarrassing because I was pretty much like add all to cart with this catalogue. I love everything about it. There's a lot in here that I love. So grab a cuppa, sit down, flick through the catalogue online, and if you place an order on my website, don't forget to scroll to the bottom and add your copies of the new catalogues to your cart for free. Thank you so much for watching. As always, happy crafting and bye for now.